Hello, English 1103. It's time to talk about the technical explainer, which is your assignment for this week. And to do that, I want to go through a brief PowerPoint here with you and remind you of the main features of the assignment. The written assignment, if you'd prefer that, is listed uh, as a page earlier just before this link. All right, so 5 things you need to know about this assignment. You need to choose for your complex topic. You need to choose either that you're going to talk about a complex process or a product. Now, you've all sent me a writing situation analysis for this in which you've indicated process or product. I just want to remind you that you need to stay with the same process or product that you started out with, unless you have a really good reason you want to change it to something else, or I've given you feedback suggesting that you should change it. But try to stick with what you've already outlined that you want to do. Your assignment is 500 words plus a graphic. People always want to know how long does it have to be. And this is a rather specific requirement because 500 words is approximately two 12-point font double-spaced pages, plus the graphic that might make it slightly longer. But I want to emphasize to you that it is harder to write something shorter when you're talking about very technical processes. And so by limiting you to 2 pages, basically, I am making this a more difficult assignment. I'm also going to ask you to think about a specific audience as you are writing your technical explainer. Is this something for a general audience, or is this something for an audience of your peers who know a lot about this topic? It should be evident from the choices that you make. Obviously, if it's a general audience, you may have to explain in greater detail. If it's a more specialized audience, you can use more specialized jargon without explaining all of it. You can assume that your audience knows some of those terms, but you can't switch back and forth between a general audience and a more specific audience. You need to stay at the same level of explanation throughout, whichever one you pick. So, what are the parts of the document? We'll get to that in just a few minutes. And references. I'm going to talk about web pages because I'm guessing that many of you will gather either graphics or information from websites. You can look up books and journal articles in APA style, but I'm giving you here the um, requirements for an APA citation of a website or a web page on a website. So you've selected either a process to explain or a product. And when I say a product, I simply mean a thing. If a process, you're going to give a breakdown of the steps that happen in the process. What order do they happen? Is it chronological? Do you want to make it user focused? What does the user experience rather than something that it goes straight through? And then you're going to design or find a graphic that shows the complex interaction happening there. If you chose a product, you're going to organize your description by function, perhaps. You could organize it by talking about how does it work. Or you could organize your description by, whoops, sorry. Or you could organize it by it's important to the user, and you're going to create a graphic to show the parts or how this thing works, right? So 500 words plus a graphic. You have your choice of a number of different graphics that you might choose. Hopefully you've read or will read shortly, the chapters from How to Your Hello on graphics and how to incorporate them wisely into your writing. You see on the left a pie chart, an example of a pie chart. Again, pie charts are great for talking about how much of a whole, in this case, a whole European population, belongs to each country by percentage of the whole number of people in Europe. On the right hand, we see a flow chart, kind of just basically you start in one place and it's binary. It's either yes or no, and it directs you where to go at each step of the way. And that can be a useful thing to have with your explainer. As I said before, you need to concentrate either on a general audience, which means you may have to be a little more simplistic, or a specialist audience. And if you choose a specialist audience, then you're going to have to use jargon perhaps that is germane to your major, engineering terms perhaps, um, and assume that your readers know what you're talking about. What are the parts of the document I'm expecting to see? First of all, an introduction and overview. You're going to tell me why you are looking at this particular process or product, and what in an outline form. In your past papers, you've given a thesis statement. I'm not so sure that this requires a thesis statement. It's going to be clear from what you say what process or product you are looking at. The purpose of this document is to explain how it works. So in your overview, you might choose to give either the steps in the process, just a quick mention of the steps, or a quick mention of the parts of the object that you're going to be looking at. In other words, previews of things to come. In the body section, you're going to do most of your explanation either of the process or product, but you're going to take it step by step. That may mean focusing a separate paragraph on each step. It may mean even less detail than that, but that's kind of an example for you. And then finally, you're going to end with a summary section, which talks about why would anyone care about this particular complex topic that you've decided to explain. What is the usefulness of this? If there is no usefulness other than as a class exercise, then that may be kind of a failure of the assignment. But ideally, there will be some kind of usefulness to you or to society in general for this information. And again, that section can be rather brief. I now want to talk about web pages, references, things you may use. There does need to be a reference section in your um, explainer. That can be on the third page or later in the explanation. But for a web page with one author, I want to point out the parts of this. Just a reminder, again, you've worked with APA style in books and journal articles. Web pages, perhaps not so much. So I want to make sure you have a facility with that format. So as with all other kinds of APA sources, you start with the author's last name, comma, first initial. And it's, since APA is an author date style, You then have parentheses and the year, a comma, and then the calendar date, if known. Notice this is a page on a website. The AARP organization is the host of this particular web page. But the title of a web page here is put in italics. Notice the only words that are capitalized are the first word, really. There are no proper nouns here. They would be also capitalized. But notice the whole title of this page is in italics. The title of the website where this page is located is not in italics, and that tells us what it is. And then here is the complete website that will take a reader to that particular article. All right, so here's another example. And there's a space here that shouldn't be here. I wasn't able to fix that as I was creating this slide. So in this case, the author is Schaefer, K, and again, this one is 2021, October 1st, period. Again, this is a web page on a website. The website comes after that. It's the Pew Research Center, and the web page that we care about here is indicated in italics. That tells us it is a page on this primary website. The parenthetical citations, you do need to cite in the work, in the writing, the text of the explainer that you're doing, and you would do that by giving the author's last name, comma, the date of the website. So the dates are given here for both Horowitz and Shaver, and name, comma, 2021, that's the year, end parentheses. If you were citing both of them at the same time, you could do that. And narrative citations, that is a citation in your text, you would say Horowitz 2021 and Schaefer 2021. Say that blah blah blah, whatever it is. Okay, what if the web page has no person's name, but it has an organization? So here's an example: the World Health Organization. So the World Health Organization can be considered the author of this, and because there is no other organization or name given, here's the date, the calendar day. Remember, the title of the web page is in italics, and here's the URL that tells us how to get there. The parenthetical citation would be World Health Organization, 2018, etc. All right, what about a news source? This is a very common one and a good place to find facts and statistics, but what would it look like? Again, very similar. Author's last name, first initial, date, and calendar day. Again, the page is in italics. The source, HuffPost, is not in italics, and the URL there. Here's another example. This one's from CNN, but it's formatted exactly the same way. The page is in italics. The news source is not, and there's the URL. Hopefully this gives you a good sense of how to cite web pages, and you're going to go ahead and list the sources of your information for your explainer at the end on a reference page in APA style. Good luck.